It's time for the Some of the Above Education News Comedy Quiz, the show that no amount of high-dose tutoring can possibly help you prepare for. And here are your hosts, speaker, author, and California Teacher of the Year, Alex Caggiatani, and all-purpose education policy guy, hey, that's me, Paul Richmond.
Heyo! Welcome to the show, everybody. We are so glad to have you along. I'm Alex.
And I'm Paul.
And this is the show where we invite you to play along with two special guest contestants as we ask questions that help you get informed and laugh a bit about our ever-changing world of public education. We're also the only education news comedy quiz show with our own in-house band. It's Tommy Dunbar and the Formative Assessments.
Yes, and happy start to the new school year, everyone. Even though some of you probably started back in the summer. Alex, does this back-to-school time of year make you think about anything in particular?
Yeah, definitely. You know, mostly sitting in mandatory teacher trainings about bloodborne pathogens when all you really want to be doing is setting up your classroom for the first day. Although, I guess if you cut your finger setting up the bulletin board, you'd be glad you had to take that training.
All right. Well, as usual, listeners, there is no shortage of education news this month. And to help us sort through it, I could not be more excited about our two special guest contestants. Alex, today we're joined by two inspiring leaders who are what I'd call change makers, two people who aren't afraid to challenge the status quo.
Definitely, and I am so excited. I mean, we have got a double dose of courage today with our guests. Let's get to them.
First, she's a senior at Boyle County High School in Danville, Kentucky. She's also a student journalist, and she's the board president of the Kentucky Student Voice Team, a statewide organization that empowers students to improve their education systems. And she's one of 12 courageous plaintiffs in a lawsuit that students have filed, alleging that the state has fallen short of the promises it made to provide more opportunities for all students. It's Luisa Sanchez. Welcome, Luisa.
Hey, Luisa.
Hey.
Woo-hoo-hoo. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
We're excited to have you. And next, he's an acclaimed educator who began his career as a high school bilingual social studies and music teacher, and then as a principal in Tucson, Arizona. But you may know him best from his time as chancellor of the New York City Department of Education, the largest school system in the nation, or from his service as superintendent of the Houston and San Francisco school districts. He's also currently the Chief of Strategy and Global Development at IXL. It's Richard Carranza.
Yeah.
Hey!
Richard.
Welcome,
Paul,
Richard.
Alex, Luisa, good to see you.
Well, what a thrill to have you both. You are both so accomplished. So I have to ask you up front, did you ever think all of your work and accomplishments and fearless leadership so far would lead you to being on an education news comedy quiz show?
A boy can only dream. A boy can only dream.
How about you, Luisa? Ever think all your hard work would land you on a show like this?
Absolutely not. But I am so just impressed the fact that people think of fun things like these and just merging entertainment with education. It's fun to see, and I'm glad to be involved. I can't wait to get some questions wrong.
We'll see how you feel by the end of the show, that's for sure.
Hey, Paul, Alex, I just have to tell you, I auditioned for the in-house band, but unfortunately, I'm only a summative assessment, so I couldn't make it to the formative. So sorry.
Well, let's get to our first game, and it's one we call Surfing the Headlines. So for this game, Alex is going to ask each of you a question about an education news story that made waves. Correct answers are worth 1 point. Also, very importantly, at the end of the show, the contestant with the fewest points has to come back and join us again in the future. So if you want to be done with us for good, you have to earn the most points. Otherwise, we invite you back. Got it?
Got it.
Got it.
All right, Luisa, this first Surfing the Headlines question is for you. According to the nonprofit news organization EdWeek, kindergartners these days are throwing more what?
Throwing more punches?
Yeah, punches are a part of what they're throwing, but the whole thing that they're throwing is it
Fists?
involves screaming, yelling, kicking, punching.
Like a tantrum, like a fist.
That's right. You got it. They are throwing more tantrums.
Hey.
According to EdWeek, we expect toddlers to have temper tantrums, a lack of oral language skills, and the inability to regulate emotions and inexperience with socializing in group settings can all, of course, lead to outbursts in 2- and 3-year-olds. But this behavior isn't considered developmentally appropriate for kindergarten-age children, but according to educators, it's becoming more common. We've seen a large increase in the inability for students to cope when things don't go their way. We see a lot of crying, yelling, shutting down, gross overreactions, said the principal of Hammergrail Elementary School in upstate New York. Teachers are kind of at the end of their rope. It's disrupting to the climate in classrooms, they say.
Yeah, I wonder too if some of the youngsters learn that behavior when they watch dad have a meltdown because the double shot extra hot caramel macchiato he ordered came with oat milk instead of almond milk.
Yeah, I knew that was you behind me in line at Starbucks the other day, Paul.
Yeah.
Hey, Luisa, how about at your high school? Have you seen an increase in the number of tantrums being thrown?
Not really. It's usually like a couple fights a year, but nothing too crazy. Although I will say, whenever something happens, they keep it tight. So yeah, if you film it, you will probably also get expelled.
Guys, I have to admit, I was chuckling, not because kids are throwing tantrums, but what you described, I was going to say either superintendents or school board members. It turns out to be kindergartners. Just kidding. Just kidding.
I'm sure EdWeek will put out the research soon on school board tantrums.
Were any of you tantrum throwers?
Oh my gosh. So I grew up in Colombia. So it was a really small town. And once I threw a tantrum to my mother at the supermarket, and she just took off without me. And my grandparents had to pick me up. Yeah. It was really scary.
How long did it take before she came back?
Oh, she did not come back. Like my grandparents picked me up.
Oh my gosh.
Because everybody knew each other. It's just such a small town.
Mom doesn't play.
That's right. She keeps it tight, as you would say.
Yeah.
Wow. I think Tommy's drummer just threw a tantrum there.
Well, all right, Richard, this next Surfing the Headlines question is for you. And speaking of tantrum throwers, the president recently gathered some high-profile athletes at a press conference to announce that he is bringing back what to schools?
I'd say the presidential fitness test.
And you would be correct.
Hey.
President Trump, that icon of physical fitness, is resurrecting what he calls the wonderful tradition of the presidential fitness test, where students compete to earn recognition for their abilities to do push-ups, run the mile, and all the other things that typically rank high on the list of things that future employers are looking for.
Is he going to take the test as well?
Yeah, is it do as I say, not as I do?
Well, I think he got a note from his doctor, and he does have bone spurs, so he got an exemption for. But did you know this fitness test? It actually goes back to President Eisenhower, who started it in the 1950s, and then President Obama phased it out in 2013 as part of an effort to focus more on individual health and spare many youngsters the indignity of flailing on the chin-up bar.
I was going to say, I remember taking that fitness test when I was in school, and that's why I was a crier and a tantrum thrower.
What was your best event?
Lunch.
Lunch.
Snack.
And no test for you, Luisa, because it was probably no longer functioning, right?
Yeah, no, I started in the US in 2015, so no.
Oh,
Yeah, they
okay.
scared me. Yeah.
Well, you might escape it altogether graduating from high school soon. Wow, well done.
Bro, I'm so lucky. Yeah.
Well, so, in making his announcement, the president said the new fitness test will be administered by that other icon of personal health and fitness, Health and Human Services Secretary Robert Kennedy Jr. And with Kennedy and Trump spurring on the new test, Paul, I understand you actually got an inside scoop about some of the new events under consideration that future students will be required to compete in.
I did. We have just heard, just this morning, a number of the new fitness challenges under consideration. And these include a new obstacle course where students will have to race through while managing to avoid all vaccination needles. And in a new twist to running the mile, in selected cities only, National Guard troops will be deployed to chase students to help improve their times.
Oh.
Ooh.
Louisa, it looks like you're laughing, but I can't hear you.
Yeah.
Too
that's
painful?
terrible. Yeah.
Well, moving on, or maybe it's more like running on. Luisa, this next headline question is for you. According to a new survey, 13% of U.S. parents said they would prefer that their children do what immediately after graduating from high school?
Go to college?
Well, I'll help you out a little. It's not, that was the top ranked response in the survey, which this was not the top ranked response, but
Oh,
it
okay.
does involve lots of, thinking, but not much else.
Get a job?
Well, before they get a job, they might want to take some time to.
Take a gap year?
Yeah, pretty close.
Yeah.
13% of parents said they most preferred their child to take time off after graduating high school to figure out their next move. This response actually ranked fourth among 6 possible choices, according to a survey of more than 2,000 adults by Gallup and the Lumina Foundation. The main headline is that the majority of parents prefer that their children's plans after high school include some form of higher education, with 40% of parents saying they wanted their child to enroll in a 4-year university and 19% preferring a 2-year community college. But our eye, of course, was caught by the 13% of chill parents who said, hey, just take some time off to figure out your next move. So, either of you surprised by parents' preferences for life after high school?
I mean, I would think that more than 40% would want their children to go to a 4-year college. So that's a little surprising.
Yeah, I don't disagree with Luisa. I think I'm not as surprised only because, the student loan debt and a lot of that information that's been talked about, I can see that having an impact.
Well, Paul, in a lot of ways, you've actually made a career out of taking time off to figure out your next move, haven't you?
I have, and I recommend it. Well, Luisa, what about your next move? Are you getting tired of people asking you yet?
Not really. I'm looking forward to college, so I'm pretty excited.
Right on.
All right, Richard, this last Surf in the Headlines question is for you. ICE immigration agents recently handcuffed, detained, and drew their guns on a 15-year-old student with disabilities outside of a Los Angeles school because the student was doing what?
Sitting in a car.
You got it. Kind of a trick question there because the student wasn't doing anything. The incident occurred right outside of Arleta High School in Los Angeles County. A relative of the boys was enrolling at that school ahead of the new school year. The 15-year-old boy, a student with disabilities who attends a different school district, was pulled from the car and federal agents drew their weapons and detained him. Family members intervened, and it turns out it was a case of mistaken identity. For good measure, ICE agents left behind some bullets on the sidewalk, apparently also by mistake, which were collected by school police. It should be noted, too, that this teen was detained hours before Los Angeles Unified leaders, local elected officials, and union leaders held a pre-scheduled press conference to discuss measures to keep students, families, and staff safe from immigration raids ahead of the new school year.
Horrible, 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 horrible. Everybody's on edge. And, the purported reason for the immigration crackdown is to get out the, convicted felons and the criminals. Yet here's an example of a child sitting in a car doing nothing but waiting for his grandmother to come out, gets pulled from the car, handcuffed and detained. So I can tell you, as I travel around the country, my colleagues around the country, without exception, are very worried about exactly these types of incidences happening to their students.
Wow. And Luisa, I'm curious, is this something that students are talking about? Are they mentioning this? And what's the chatter amongst actual students?
Unfortunately not. I go to a very small, rural, conservative, predominantly white school. So it does feel like I have so many things are happening. You see your people on the news and then you walk into school and it's like nothing's wrong. So yeah, it's definitely alarming. And I think we should be having more conversations, even if rural communities are not as heavily impacted, because at the end of the day, it's like a national effort that like it takes everyone to be aware and also to fight against these things. So yeah, it's definitely really devastating to hear.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Well, and as you know, this is not an isolated incident by a long shot either. Another 18-year-old Los Angeles student was essentially kidnapped off the street while walking his dog. And students as young as 7 who are U.S. citizens have been detained and deported, along with their parents from all regions of the country: Maryland, Detroit, California, New York, Louisiana.
Yeah, thanks, Alex, for dialing everything down on a comedy quiz show.
I never promised that it would be funny every moment of the show, Paul.
Yeah, some things are hard to joke about, indeed.
Yeah.
Well, great job in our first game, contestants. Our next game is one we call Education Data Points of the Month.
Education Data Points of the Month.
Man, I love that theme music. All right, I'm going to give each of you a number and 3 options, and you have to guess what that number or data point actually represents. Luisa, this first data point is for you, and the number is 4,561. Is this A, the average number of times per school day that students at Edwardsville High School in Illinois access TikTok, according to a study conducted by the students? Is it B, the number of cases of book bans in Florida public schools and libraries last year? Or C, 4,561, the number of push-ups that President Trump claims he did as a student while taking the school physical fitness test?
Is it B, the number of book bans in Florida?
It is. You are correct. Sadly, it's the number of books banned in Florida last year. In its quest to become a critical thinking desert, Florida accounts for more book bans than any other state. One county, Hillsborough, just recently removed over 600 titles from library shelves with no public input after threats from the State Department of Education. This was according to the South Florida Sun-Sentinel. So, Luisa, I think you've written some about this topic. Is that right?
Yes, I've done a lot of investigative writing about censorship, and there is disproportionately a higher number of book bans in red states compared to more moderate or democratic states. So it's not surprising that Florida is in that position, especially with their government. Yeah, it's definitely alarming.
Yeah. And as Pan America noted, most of the books banned have targeted authors of color, female writers, and members of the LGBTQ community, and topics that educate about any of those experiences or that document historical periods. And the list of titles that have been banned, include a lot of classics. So I'm not sure how to even phrase this exactly, but do you have a favorite banned book?
A favorite? Well, the one I see often that is like, it's such a good book, and I don't get why they would ban it, is Beloved by Toni Morrison.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it gets banned a lot, and it's such a good book. And everyone
Such a
should
good
know
book.
about slavery. What is going on? But yeah.
Yeah. What do you think students might be able to do if in some of these states, if they're concerned about the bans? As a student leader, what would you tell them?
Yeah, at my school, my county, I think it was last year, 2 years ago, they banned over 100 books in our county. And then one of our students, she started a Boyle Banned Instagram account, and she started posting about the books that were banned and the titles and what they were about, and getting like online signatures and things of that nature. So I think online advocacy and just like digital awareness could be really good to mobilize people and get them to be aware of what's going on in their communities.
All right, Richard, the next education data point question is for you, and the number is 5.3 million. Is this A, the approximate number of students who graduated from college last year in the US? Is it B, the approximate number of English learner students in grades K through 12 in the US? Or is it C, 5.3 million, the approximate number of chin-ups that President Trump claims he did as a student when participating in the school fitness test?
My goodness, that's a tough one, guys. Let's see, C, B, I think it's going to be B.
B, you are correct. That is the approximate number, 5.3 million, of English learner students across the country. And overall, in 14 states, EL students make up 10% or more of the total student population. And in another 18 states, they make up between 6 and 10%. So these totals are especially important as the federal administration just recently rescinded guidance that called on states and school districts to ensure that English learners can, quote, participate meaningfully and equally in school and have equal access to high quality education and the opportunity to achieve their full academic potential. So the administration rescinded the guidance because they said, quote, it does not align with our priorities.
Ooh, Paul, I like that. The next time you really want to go deep into a policy issue on this show, I can just stop you and say, sorry, that does not align with my priorities.
Yeah. And as I'm driving, 60 miles an hour in a school zone, I'm going to tell the officer, I'm sorry, officer, the speed limit doesn't align with my philosophy.
Right.
Wow.
But I know, Richard, you've designed and implemented many successful programs to support English learners. So what do you make of this latest federal move to try to back away from supporting those students?
Yeah, it's antithetical. There is no literature, there's no research, there's not even any other country in the world that has this philosophical tenet that the government is espousing at this moment. When you think about how do students participate fully in the curriculum? They have to understand the language of instruction. So to, in essence, say, we're not going to do anything to help you understand the language of instruction. We just hope you're going to get it. It's just so contrary to what decades and decades and decades of educational research, peer-reviewed research says about educating multilingual learners. I will also say, in full transparency, when I started kindergarten way back when, I was what they would call an English language learner. And even though my parents were both bilingual Spanish-English speakers, they made the choice that my brother and I would only be spoken Spanish to because they trusted the public schools would teach us English because they wanted us to be bilingual. And so think about if you take away that opportunity for students to learn English while not forgetting their first language, whatever that first language is, what if we wanted to create bilingual students and trilingual students? Isn't that what really the whole purpose of education is to give students more windows? Another banned book, Windows to the World. Give students windows into other lived experiences of other cultures. It is just so anti-education. It's so anti-American. It's so anti who we are as a country to be banning, strategies and guidance for how to educate multilingual learners.
I was an English learner myself when I first immigrated to the US when I was in second grade until fourth grade, about that time. And that was at the time when I was living in New York. So it was Long Island, and they had a very robust public school system that was extremely supportive. And so I was in a dual enrollment program. And I am proud to say that because of that mentorship and that support early on is why I was able to be confident in my academic abilities, and why I have the capacity to be at the top of my class, because I know that they equipped me with that knowledge of the English language. So yeah, it's really devastating to see that, and just heartbreaking because it hits home. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well said.
And what a great example of a robust bilingual, multilingual program. I mean, we have her right here, Luisa, right? Articulate, thoughtful, insightful. Isn't that what we want all our students to be? So congratulations, Luisa.
It's time for our next game. But first, let's do a quick score check. Alex and I are proud to announce that we've added a new member to our podcast team this month. She's the recently fired commissioner of the Federal Bureau of Labor Statistics. Yes. And while she takes some time off to figure out her next move, she's agreed to keep our score fairly and accurately. And according to the commissioner's tally, we have a tie score so far. Luisa has 3 points and Richard has 3 points.
Ooh, it's a real superintendent versus student showdown here.
Yeah, and so Luisa and Richard, time for our next game, the one we call Which is More? And it's very easy to play. I'm going to name 2 or more items, and you just have to say which one there's more of. So, ready?
Hey, Paul, before we start, something that's been bugging me as a math teacher, to be correct, shouldn't this game actually be called Which is Greater?
Well, if that would make you happy, Alex, I could change it.
Well, it wouldn't make me happy. It would just make me mathematically correct.
Oh, okay, Mr. Mathematically Correct.
Thank you.
All right. Well, Richard, we're going to start with you for this game. So which is more or greater, or in this case, which is actually higher? Is it the average age of public school buildings in the U.S., or is it the average age of U.S. teachers?
Oh, public school education buildings.
Woo, without a hesitation.
Yeah.
And you are correct.
Without
It's
a doubt.
public school buildings. The average age of teachers across the country, according to the latest data, is 42.9 years, which is a good deal younger than the average age of the school buildings themselves, which is 49 years. So, Richard, you had no hesitation. It sounds like you've seen your share of older school buildings.
Yes, and I would say they're historic buildings. They're not old. They're historic.
Well
They're just
done.
downright old. They're old.
That's
Yes.
what Alex is always saying about me. I'm historic, not old.
Yes. Luisa, how are the buildings looking from your perspective these days?
Yeah, I feel like our middle school is so much nicer than our high school. Just like the high schoolers are all crammed up like a can of sardines. It's yeah. But honestly, I would have thought they were much older than 49. Yeah. I mean, sometimes you walk into the room across the hallway and it feels like an igloo after you were in like the Sahara for an hour. And it's like, where's the temperature regulation system? Like, yeah.
Well, all right, Luisa, the next which is greater or which is more question is for you. And we're going to give you 3 items. So which is more, the total number of students in the U.S. who play high school football, the total number who are in their school marching band, or the total number who participated in a high school science fair? So football, marching band, or science fairs?
Football.
Well, are you sure you want to go with that?
It's
Or
marching band.
Oh, you are correct. But I have to tell you, it's extremely close by the length of a few trombones. Marching band is actually the largest. An estimated 250,000 high school students participate in science and engineering fairs each year. Meanwhile, the data shows approximately 1.1 million students played football last year, including nearly 70,000 girls who played flag football. Way to go, girls. And an estimated 1.2 million who participated in marching bands. So, Luisa, is there any activity that kind of rules over at your school?
Yeah, I mean, football dominates, but marching band is also really popular. So, yeah, Yeah, the band kids, though, they're much nicer than the football kids.
Hey, Paul, weren't you in marching band in high school?
I was, but just for 1 year. Yeah.
1 year. What happened?
Well, I was amazing at playing the trumpet, I have to say, but I could not play and march at the same time. And Richard, were you in your marching band too?
I sure was. Lots of bruises from trying to march and play the saxophone.
Oh, okay. And I don't know if everybody knows, but you've continued to be a talented musician throughout your career. Yes?
Well, depending on the audience, talented is subject to people's opinion. But yeah, I'm a lifelong mariachi musician. I play mariachi music to this day.
Oh, that's awesome.
So yes.
And Luisa, you're in a lot of activities, I believe, right?
Yeah, unfortunately, I had to quit my fun activities like at the beginning of high school.
Oh no, that's the cost of leadership, right?
Yes, I mean, you know what? It's okay, but yeah, I do like art, so theater, like performance, and then also visual art.
Well, I think this is our best performance panel, music and theater.
Absolutely.
Welcome back to the Some of the Above Education News Comedy Quiz, and let's hear it for our guest contestants, Richard Carranza and Luisa Sanchez.
Woo!
Yay!
Yeah.
And also for our very own in-show band, Tommy Dunbar and the Formative Assessments.
Woo!
Yay!
Yeah.
And in just a bit, you'll both have a chance to earn more points in our world-famous True, False, or What challenge game. But first, this is one of my favorite parts of the show where we get to learn more about you, our guests. Both of you are what we'd consider courageous change makers, and that is that you've taken on the status quo in trying to improve the education system. Luisa, in your case, it's the state of Kentucky through the suit that you and your peers have filed to expand opportunities for students. And Richard, you've pushed to improve some of the largest urban school districts in the country. So I want to ask each of you, and maybe we'll start with you, Richard. What's one piece of good advice, or maybe something you've learned the hard way, that you can share with others who want to try to change big systems?
Just one. Look, I think, and again, I'm gonna highlight Luisa here. You have to be who you are, right? You just have to know what you believe in and why you believe what you believe, and then you have to advocate, fight, speak to that, right? So the fact that I was a multilingual learner, English language learner, I never forgot that, and why that issue is so important to me. Why systems that don't serve all of our students, to me, were always just antithetical to what public education is all about. So in every one of those situations where I've really fought the system, it's been because I haven't forgotten who I am, and I want those that come after me to have a better experience, even better experience than I've had.
So conversely, is there any worst advice you've ever received?
And this is more towards systems leaders, but don't be so busy. This is my advice to them. Don't be so busy keeping your job that you don't do your job. Remember why you're in that seat. Remember why you're in that position. So, people are going to throw arrows. They're going to threaten your job. They're going to threaten your career. Just remember, you're the most dangerous person there is because you're a person that has a degree, you have a profession, and you're not going to starve. So you might as well fight for the right things while you're in that position to make those decisions.
Nice. I'm always telling Alex that, but he doesn't listen.
Sorry, Paul. That does not align with my priorities.
Well, and Luisa, what about you? So what's one piece of really good advice or maybe something you've learned the hard way that you could share with others who want to try to take on and change a big system?
Yeah, I think the biggest piece of advice is to never stop learning. And sometimes when, you move up in the ranks of of advocacy or a nonprofit or what you do, you start feeling really confident, really comfortable, and that's good. But just remember, there is tons that you don't know. And so keeping that humility and remember that, the goal is to be a lifelong scholar or learner and just to always keep on growing. So even though I do think that youth should be more empowered to know that the education system around them should serve them, it is also important to sustain intergenerational ties and to just remember that we can still learn a lot from the person next to us. And so that has allowed me to just be more humble and just be more aware that there's still a lot of improvement that I can be involved in.
Well, I love that. Thank you. So, Luisa, we did also want to carve out time for you to share a bit more about the lawsuit that you and your peers in Kentucky have filed. And I know the lawsuit has its roots in a much older state Supreme Court case called Rose versus Council for a Better Education that called for a more adequate and equitable education system. So,
sounds like somebody did their homework, Paul.
You bet, man. Hey, school finance lawsuits are my jam.
Yeah, they are.
So anyway, Luisa, please, we would love to hear more.
Yes, for sure. So the Kentucky Supreme Court in 1989 ruled our educational system unconstitutional. And so when they ruled our education system unconstitutional, they set forth 7 Rose capacities. And so if these 7 Rose capacities are met, then that would mean that our education system is constitutional. And so among these is having a well-rounded civics education program, also having students learn about Kentucky history and learn about culture, and also students being able to compete with one another, for instance, students from rural counties and also those from urban counties. And so bridging those gaps was also something that the court outlined in these 7 Rose capacities. However, it's been a long, long time since the Rose case, and we see that the funding inequity between rural and urban districts is just worse than ever before, and it just keeps on being divided. Also, civics education is not where it should be in Kentucky. Kentucky is one of, it's either 9 or 11 states that does not require a civics course before students graduate. So it requires, I believe, students to pass the exam, but does not require a course to go with the exam.
Wow.
Yeah, it hurts the students, and also seeing the ratio between students and counselors, it should be, according to national research, about 1 to 350, and in Kentucky it's about 1 to 450. And so there are just lots of bits and pieces in our education system that, if we look at them and if we analyze them, we can see that students' needs are not being met. And so we are filing this lawsuit to say that our constitutional rights are not being addressed and they are not being fulfilled. And so that's why we sued the legislature. And so we're in that process right now, but we have done extensive research, and we worked alongside Harvard and Columbia law professors and also law students. And it's been over 2 years. Yeah, a little bit over 2 years. And we also did a campaign all across the state talking about the Rose case and assessing the constitutionality of our education. And so it's been a long journey, but we're still keeping at it.
Wow, this is amazing. And I feel, Paul, like it's also the makings for a future #1 Netflix show that we're all going to watch.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think it's so commendable too, Luisa, because, I mean, you have to know realistically, it's not going to benefit you and your classmates. By the time it finally happens, it's going to be, years down the line. So the fact that you're putting yourself out there and perhaps even being a target and doing this for the future generation, that's so commendable.
Definitely. As the leadership saying often says, leadership is being willing to plant a tree whose shade you'll never sit under.
Yeah.
Well, all right. Hey, just to unlitigate and lighten things up a bit, I have one more question for each of you. Luisa, we often hear how difficult it is to be a high school student these days, what with social media and academic pressures and AI, culture wars, et cetera, et cetera. So, of course, we want to ask you, what is one of the easiest things about being a high school student these days?
Okay, this might seem privileged, but not having to pay bills and getting to, like, the money that I earn, getting to keep it to myself.
For sure.
It's so nice that I don't have to worry about adult things of that nature. And I can just sleep warmly and not think about all of those stressors. That's the best part, just knowing that I'm still, like, young and people will treat me like a young person, because you know what? Yeah.
Well, all right. It actually is time for our final game. The time has gone very fast. This is the rapid response round we call true, false, or what? And for this game, Alex is going to ask each of you a series of 3 questions in a row. For each one, you have to tell us whether it's a true story, whether we just made it up, or you can simply shake your head and say, what? Which is always an acceptable answer on this show.
Always.
So in this final game, each question will be worth 1 point, but if you get all 3 correct, you'll also receive a bonus point. And before we start, I'm going to remind our listeners of the latest score: Luisa 4 and Richard 4.
Ooh, wow. Well, that is a close match. So as a reminder, guests, on this show, whoever finishes with the fewest points gets held back and has to join us again for a future episode. Okay, Luisa, we are starting with you. 3 questions. Here they come. True, false, or what? As schools prepared recently for the new school year, one school district in Tennessee asked its teachers to stop posting Amazon wish lists for school supplies on their social media accounts.
True.
You are correct. This is true. Lewis County Schools, which consists of 4 schools and is located about 80 miles outside of Nashville, asked teachers not to post their Amazon wish lists of classroom supplies online. Specifically, not to post lists alongside the names or logos of the school district or its schools. As reported by ABC News, the district's director of schools explained that many donors believe they are giving teachers items that the district refuses to provide, which can create a misleading impression about the support the district provides its staff. All right, next question. True, false, or what? The most popular school lunch food, as rated by students in each state, were burritos.
False.
You are correct. Burritos were identified as the favorite of students in just one state, Arizona. However, according to the annual State of School Lunch Report produced by ProCare Therapy, the most popular school lunch identified last year by students in 17 states was, anybody want to guess?
Pizza.
Pizza, you got it, including pizza squares, pizza crunchers, pizza sticks, and pizza burgers. This was followed by the chicken sandwich, which was number 1 in 7 states, and Bosco sticks, which topped out in 6 states.
I gotta say that's a district leader that knows his students.
That's
He
right.
knows what that popular food is.
But I have to admit, in all transparency, I was born in Tucson, Arizona, went to school in Tucson, Arizona, so I was all over that burrito.
Well, being in Southern California, I'm a burrito person myself. But Luisa, where do you stand? Favorite cafeteria lunch food?
It has to be Bosco sticks.
What even is a Bosco stick?
It's just cheese inside, like, and bread. Just breaded cheese. A breaded mozzarella cheese stick.
Okay.
It's a classic, yeah.
Oh, thank you for asking that, Paul, because I was secretly wondering myself. All right, this is your last question, Luisa. True, false, or what? The school board in Midland Independent School District in West Texas just renamed 2 schools after Confederate leader Robert E. Lee, roughly 5 years after the board had voted to remove Lee from the schools' names.
Is it true?
That is true. Basically, the district renamed 2 schools after the Confederate general. Midland becomes the second district in recent years to resurrect Confederate names that were previously retired due to their racist connotations. Another district, Shenandoah County in Virginia, reverted 2 school names in May of 2024. Richard, you never had to deal with this issue in New York, did you?
No, not in New York. It was starting to bubble up in Houston, and then we had a little weather event called Hurricane Harvey, so we didn't get to it. But we didn't have to deal with it at that point.
Well, and I would think also in New York, aren't all the schools named after numbers?
Yeah, if you're against numbers and numerology, I guess you might have a pretty big agenda.
Well, I gotta ask, should we just go to all numbers for all schools or no?
That would be answer number PS 57. No.
No. Okay. So you like names. All
I
right.
would say my school, actually, they had a white man holding up a Confederate flag as like the school mascot, and they removed it a couple years ago. So
Oh my goodness.
yeah.
All right, Paul, how did Luisa do?
Luisa crushed it. She got
She
all
did.
3 right, which also earns her the bonus point. So she has a total of 8 to Richard's 4.
Yee.
All right, Richard. Well, I think that you might be up to this task. Here we go. True, false, or what? Love is in the air at Newton High School in Newton, Kansas. According to the school newspaper, 19 teachers at the high school are married to 19 other teachers who also teach at that same school.
What? What is it? The Love Boat? Love Island?
We always, of course, accept what, but in this case, it is false, probably thankfully. But according to the Railer Student News, there are 4 couples at the school. And of course, if Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce moved to Newton, that would make 5 couples. Although, fact check disclaimer, these totals were as of spring of last year. We can still verify that all the teachers are on the school roster, but love and the pressures of, new school year being what they are, we can't verify if they're all still married.
Wow. I'll tell you what, if I was the principal of that school, I'd want to make sure all 4 of those couples were carpooling, because if not, that'd be a problem.
I love your mind goes to the parking lot overcrowding.
Can't take that hat off. Can't take it off.
Although not carpooling might be the only time they have to themselves.
Well, that would be a conversation in the teacher's lounge around the water cooler. Why aren't they carpooling?
So, Alex, do you know, is their school mascot still called the Swingers?
Yeah. You should see that mascot, those mascots' moves at the football games. That's for sure. All right, Richard, next question. True, false, or what? At a first day of school event in San Francisco Unified School District, the superintendent said the district's goal this year is to, quote, "We want to be boring. No drama, nothing to see here," end quote. Is that true, false, or what?
So I've got to just be totally honest. I know the superintendent. That's my former school district where I was superintendent. I know my San Francisco peeps really, really well. And I wish her a very boring school year, because that's what she said.
You are absolutely correct, and you know your stuff. This is true. According to the San Francisco Chronicle, after years of discord, upheaval, and crisis, Superintendent Maria Sue said, "We want to be boring this year. We need to be heads down, focused on student learning." In recent years, the district has endured board member recalls, superintendent changes, budget crises, controversies over school names, putting Algebra 1 back in 8th grade, ethnic studies, and more. Oh, yeah, and also a pandemic. Richard, did you ever set out to be boring for the school year?
Yeah, I might have thought I wanted to be boring, but circumstances were always such that it was never boring. Never boring.
So a board member from the district did clarify in a news story that the goal is, quote, not boring inside the schools or inside the classrooms. It should be exciting and joyful and focused on math and reading and all that stuff. But the adult stuff should be boring, he said.
Amen.
Yes. All right, Richard, here is your final question. True, false, or what? Oklahoma's state superintendent of schools announced that any teacher in the United States who wants to move to his state to teach must now pass a special exam to prove they don't adhere to a radical leftist ideology.
That is true.
Well, close. That is actually false. There will, in fact, be a new exam for out-of-state teachers, but only teachers from 2 states, New York or California. Even though Oklahoma has a massive teacher shortage, and even though, according to Oklahoma's own data, since 2020, there have been only 19 out-of-state applications from California and New York, and in 2025, only 1 applicant came from California and none from New York. American Federation of Teachers President Randy Weingarten recently said of the Oklahoma superintendent of schools who put forward this new test idea, his priority should be educating students, but instead it's getting Donald Trump and other politicians to notice him.
Is it any wonder that I worked in California and New York? I got that one wrong.
All right, Paul, how did Richard do?
Well, this was a very close match. It came down to the final question, but Luisa pulled it out with a score of 8 to Richard's 6. And Richard, unfortunately, you know what that means. You have to come back and join us again.
Aw, shucks. I guess I will. No, I'm thrilled to come back. And I'm even more thrilled that Luisa won because she's a smart, young adult. And you can just tell she's going places. And Luisa, when you get there, can I work for you? I'll be your chief of staff. I promise. I'll do a good job. I got your back, girl.
Just don't try to do a education news comedy quiz podcast, Luisa, when you make it big.
No, I'll come back.
Please do.
Yes.
We welcome you anytime.
Anytime. Well, a huge thanks to both of our special guests, Luisa Sanchez and Richard Carranza. What a thrill to have you both play the quiz.
Yay.
And Luisa, if people want to learn more about the Kentucky Student Voice Team, where can they find you?
They should definitely go to ksvt.org.
All right. Sorry, go ahead.
Kentucky Student Voice Team. Just search up Kentucky Student Voice Team. There's only one of us. It won't be hard to find us.
And Richard, where can people find more you?
They can find me on all social media, LinkedIn, X, Facebook, Instagram, or you can go to my website, carranzaedu.com, carranzaedu.com. Easy to find.
Nice. Well, I also just want to extend a huge thanks and gratitude to both of you for joining us. It's been a lot of fun. And also a special thanks, as always, to our in-show band, Tommy Dunbar, and the formative assessments.
And of course, to all of you, our millions of listeners, we hope you've learned some, laughed some, and gained a nugget or two of knowledge to pass off as your own.
So until next time, Alex.
Until next time, Paul, and may you all take some time to figure out your next move.